Okay, so I'm going to start the webinar now. And so the plan is I'm going to present something, do a presentation. After that, I'll see if people have some questions, and I will answer them the best as I can. And then after that, I will go through some examples, some bad writing examples, so we can improve on them. Okay. So yeah, we'll go through presentation. And I started with this topic, communication is where it's at, because I think it's crucial that a writing piece communicates. And basically, if a writing piece does not communicate its message, then there's no point for the writing piece to exist at all. I mean, it may have a lot of great ideas and some super fancy formatting or whatever, but if it doesn't convey its idea, then it's actually useless and it deserves an F. So, in my view. So let's get off to the points. And the first point is making sense instead of making nonsense. Okay, so a lot of writers, beginning writers in high school and middle school, they will write for themselves and try to think about what they want to write and how they want to write, and they don't think about the audience, which is really crucial. If people don't think about their audience when they're writing, they've lost also the whole purpose of writing, because mainly writing is about communication. So first point, avoid writing for yourself. Okay. Second point is to look at your tone. Is it too academic? Is it too casual? And usually you want to avoid academic language in writing. That doesn't mean that you need to be too casual either. So you need to find a balance. And you'll be surprised that most professors and readers, they really just want a direct, clear writing style that doesn't have too many words flying around, that's heady, or you have to look at the thesaurus all the time. So they want a message communicated in a clear, simple way, and usually with some emotion behind it, but I'll get to that later. So another important point is that a lot of people, before they hand in the writing, they don't think about letting other people read it and see what they think about it. So you have to visit a writing center, visit a colleague, and see what they think about it, because you have an idea about your paper, or what it's like, or idea about your article. But what really counts is what other people think about it, because you may be misconstruing your conception of your paper. So we are limited as an individual person in our perception of our paper. We need other people's perception. So another major point is that do not add extra sentences and extra words, extra anything, just for the sake of it being there. Being concise and vigorous in style is super important. If you add things just to put up the word count, you're actually doing a disservice to your readers and to yourself. Actually, you're probably going to get a worse grade, because it's actually clearly saying that it doesn't have to do anything with your paper, and you're just kind of putting in a bunch of filler. So actually, the more economic you are in your writing, the higher grades you'll get, the more appreciation you get, and actually the more inspired you get, because you have more to say. So I like this kind of accent. Every word, sentence, and paragraph should count. Okay, so this is a huge point. Number 5, each part of your writing should clearly connect to the other parts of your writing. So, you can have some cliche transitions like secondly, thirdly, and whatnot. But, it's better to have organic transitions that connect your paper with its own content. So instead of putting cookie cutter things like first, second, third, use material that's from the essay as a foundation. Like Dr. Said said or mentioned the previous paragraph about this and this and this, therefore we should talk about this and this and this. So it should carry on, it should flow from the previous statements, and it should not just be something that you just copy and pasted. Okay, the next thing is about word order. And this has a lot to do with grammar and syntax. How a person reads a sentence through is extremely important as well. You need to stay away from the old style of structuring. There exist many animals that live without spines. This phrase, like there exist many, is much more flowing, as there are many animals that exist without spines. So it should not be a kind of reversal syntax. It should be straight, syntax direct. The reader shouldn't have to strain reading your sentence at any point. Also, don't take out articles and prepositions just for the sake to have it more sound like a business type copy. And a lot of business writers do this. They take out the and they think it makes them sound like a nice business copy. But really, in realistic terms, you need to keep those done on other prepositions, articles, so that your writing flows. This is a huge one, even for people who have been writing for a long time. You need to check if each sentence is complete and that the punctuation you use is correct. I use the example here of semicolon because semicolons are used incorrectly all the time. It has to be between two independent clauses. So yeah, a lot of times people use a semicolon in a really strange manner, like an abrupt, like a dash, or even a period, or comma. So a semicolon is a very specific type of punctuation that you need to know how to use. This I kind of mentioned earlier. Sentences and phrases should roll off the tongue, meaning that
Hello.
you should read it, and
It looks like we have one viewer.
You shouldn't
There
sound
could be
like it's harsh or
30 viewers
difficult to read,
because
like
there's
you have
30
to
viewers
get through a
registered.
puzzle just to read the sentence.
But
So,
yeah, we'll just
so you're
check
on a
the
mission
sound
to convey
for a
your
little
message.
bit.
That's your main mission.
If no one can
It's not
hear
Mission
me,
Impossible
you can
either.
type
It's Mission Possible, very possible.
no sound or
So,
something. But
Like
I guess
said,
if
you can have an awesome vocabulary.
people can't hear this,
amazing
they won't
ideas,
be
but
typing that
if you
anyway.
can't deliver the message
Okay.
clearly, in a clear
So-
way, all that is lost. So it's extremely important to have an outline to plan your writing, and you need to check that periodically throughout the writing process. Writing is not a rant, automatic stream of consciousness type of thing. It
So
may
yeah,
be for the
I'll wait
beatniks
till, like,
in the past, and that was the
6:03.
style of writing, but usually 99% of the
We're
time
at
you need to have a
3 minutes in
a direct plan
and
to
see
make a
if
writing
the sound works for everyone.
So you need to have a clear statement about what your main topic is in the introduction. And that could be a thesis statement in an essay, or that could be a solid statement of an assertion in an article and whatnot. And you need to carry that clear statement through the following paragraphs. And don't get sidetracked. So if you feel like,
So
veering off into a
I'm just
different
like telling other
space
people,
or
I'm
territory,
just testing
leave
this
that for
out
another paper.
for a few minutes
You should be focused at all times in
and
each
waiting for some
paragraph
people
of
to
the
come.
sentence. So in
So
the
stick around.
conclusion, you have to restate your main points. In the majority of writing, it's usually every point that you made. So keep that in mind. And this is extremely important to remind readers why your main topic is important. And you've noticed I've used the word important a lot here because it's important. So you have to make the readers realize why your topic is actually important. Because if you don't make your readers realize that, they're just going to read something else. Okay. So stay personable in your tone, meaning don't sound like a textbook. Don't try to put your readers to sleep. Write like you're a real person.
Right, one more minute,
your
and
own
then I'll
voice.
start.
Don't try to sound like someone else.
Looks
Don't
like
try to
Lily's
sound
got
like a
one
textbook.
viewer.
Just write naturally as you would, not as a too
And
casual.
one viewer
Of course, I
is
said not too casual, not
all I need to
as a,
teach.
like you're saying like yo or putting some other
That's a lucky one
contraction
viewer.
or something. But just keep it simple, clear, and your own. All right, and staying on the topic, I kind of mentioned this before, but if you want side information, you can just use footnotes. And these are great for just, if you're really nerdy and you really want to put a bunch of footnotes, that's okay. I mean, readers might dig that, they might be really into your footnotes. But do not put footnote information inside the actual essay. Put it at the bottom with the footnotes. And don't put any random sentences in your paragraphs. That's like huge with college and high school writers. They put a lot of random material inside paragraphs that have nothing to do with the main topic.
Okay.
And it's just like there's no transition either. So maybe it wouldn't be random if they had a transition, but
So the
usually
plan is I'm going to present
random
something,
sentences are
do a
random
presentation.
because they're just simply
After that, I'll see if
not
people have
information
some
connected to the
questions,
main
and I will answer them the best that I can.
Back
And then
on
after
the
that,
random
I
track, we have
will
random quotes.
go
So
through some
do not
examples.
insert random quotes.
Some bad writing
Sometimes
examples,
people
so
are in
we
a hurry.
can
They'll find some
improve
quotes
on.
that they
Okay.
want to insert to
So yeah, we'll go through
put in some
presentation
validation for the essay
and
and claims, but
I started.
in fact, they
with this
didn't
topic.
check out and didn't read
Communication is where it's
quotes
at.
carefully enough to see if they
Because
actually fit
I
in
think
the
it's
context. You
crucial
always got to make sure that
that
each word of the quote fits in
a
the
writing
context.
piece
'Cause sometimes
communicates.
it's tricky. Sometimes it
And
sounds like a quote.
Basically, if a
It's
writing
really in
piece
the
does not
context
communicate its message,
of the paper, but it's not,
then
and
you
there's
have
no
to be
point
very
for the
careful
writing piece
with
to
quotes.
exist at all. I mean, it may have,
And
and I mentioned this
ideas,
before, check your outline
and,
periodically during the
some
writing process.
super
Super fancy formatting or whatever.
So that means
But
you're
if it
glancing at
doesn't
your convey its
outline
idea, then
during the writing
it's
process,
actually
anytime you
useless,
have doubts,
and
you're
it deserves
confused,
an F.
you look back at your outline.
So
If you want to
right.
include different things,
So let's get off.
that's not on your outline in your
points.
paper, that's fine.
And the first
But
point
you have
is
to make sure that it's connected
to your subtopics,
making sense, and that
instead of
it
making
goes
nonsense.
with your main topic.
Okay.
So
There's the
a lot of
presentation.
writers, beginning writers in
Right.
high school and middle
It
school,
looks
like we have no questions at this
they
time.
will write for themselves
So,
and try to
We are
think
going
about
on
what they
to
want to write and how
some
they want to
examples.
write, and they don't think about
bad
the
writing
audience,
and how to fix them.
which is really
Okay.
crucial.
And remember, if you
If
have
people
questions
don't think about their audience when
during
they're writing,
they've lost
all these
also
examples,
the
feel
whole
free to
purpose
write them
of
down
writing.
here in the chat.
Because mainly writing is about communication.
All right.
So first point, avoid
Let's go
writing
to these
for yourself.
examples. Okay.
Second point is
So I'll make this a
to
little
look
bit
at your
bigger.
Is it too
Just so people
academic?
can see
Is it
clearly.
too casual? And usually you want to avoid academic
Okay.
language in writing. That doesn't mean
So
that
here's
you
an
need to
example
be too
of
casual.
not being logical.
So you need
Okay,
to
I'm
find
just going to read
balance.
it,
And
I'll go over
and
the
you'd be
highlighted
surprised
points,
that
okay?
most professors and readers
Existing
just want
is
a
being
direct,
unique.
clear
Okay,
writing style.
I could have
doesn't have too many
highlighted
words
the
a
sentence,
flying
but
around its
heady,
I'll just
or
give them
you
a
have to
break
read the thesaurus.
and see what they write next. Okay.
So
They want a
existing is
message
being unique.
communicated in a clear,
Existence,
simple
reality,
way,
essence,
and usually
cause,
with some
or
emotion
truth
behind
is
it.
unique.
But I'll get to that later.
Okay, so the first
So,
sentence, why I highlighted this is
Another
that because
important
the first
point
sentence
is that a lot
saying
of
that
people,
existing is
before
being
they hand
unique.
in
Then the next
the writing,
sentence
they don't
just
think
saying
about letting other people read it and see what
plus
they think.
reality, essence, cause, or
So,
truth is uniqueness. So he just like
You
throws
have to
his
visit a writing center,
original thesis out of the water,
colleague, and see what they
just
think about
say
it,
something
because
else.
you have an idea
Okay,
about
then
your
he
paper,
goes on,
or what it's
the
like,
geometric
or idea
point
about your
in the
article.
center of the
But
sphere is
What
nature's
really
symbol.
counts is what
Okay,
other people think about it.
I don't know
Because
what nature's
you
symbol he's
may be
talking about, because
misconstruing
in nature there's not
so
there's not
we are
common
limited as an individual
symbols
person
like this
in our
everywhere
perception of it.
around, where there's
We need other
geometric,
people's
perfect geometric points in the center.
perception.
So, and
Another major point
the sentence is
that
almost saying,
do
like,
not add
extra sentences,
like extra
nature,
words,
extra
has
anything,
a
just
a
for
will
the sake of it,
and
and is
being,
using the symbol to teach us something.
being
Which
concise
is
and vigorous in style,
totally
is
unscientific
super
and
important.
unfounded. Okay.
If you add
nature
things
symbol
just
of
to
immeasurable
put up the
uniqueness
word
within
count,
its
you're actually
measurable
doing a
effect.
disservice
Okay,
to your
first,
readers.
we have no idea
And
what
to yourself,
he's talking
actually,
about
you're
in
probably
terms
going to
of
get a worse
measurable.
grade because it's actually
What
clearly
are we
saying
measuring?
that it doesn't have to do anything with
How do you
paper, and you're just
measure
kind of
uniqueness?
putting in
It's
a bunch
very
of
vague.
filler.
Okay.
So
A
actually, the
center
more economic
is
you are in
always
writing,
unique.
the higher grades you
Okay.
get, the more appreciation you
I
get.
don't see
Actually, the
how
more
he came
inspired
to
you
that
get,
conclusion,
because
but
you have
alright.
more to say.
Otherwise, it would
So,
not be a center.
I like this.
Okay, that
kind
is
of
some
acts
like
every
flawed
word, sentence, and
circular
paragraph
logic
should
there.
count.
That it's kind of like a made-up logic that
So,
has
this is a
absolutely
huge
no
point. Number
connection
5, each part of your writing should
with
clearly
other logic.
connect
It's kind of a
to the
personal
parts of your
logic.
writing.
Okay.
So,
Because uniqueness is
you
reality,
can have
or that
some
which makes a thing
cliche
what it is.
transitions like
Everything that is real
and
is
whatnot.
based on a centralization.
But
Okay.
it's better to have organic transitions.
So he made this claim
Connect your
that
paper
everything that is
with
real
its
is
own
based on
content. So instead of putting
centralization.
cookie cutter things
And
like first, second, third,
basically
use
there's
material
no
that's from
A
the
to B
essay.
here. There is
Essay
no
foundation.
real connection.
Like Dr.
There's no pure
saying
logic
that,
here. It's all flawed
in the-
logic,
or mention
circular
the
logic.
previous paragraph about this and this and this.
You can just call it illogical.
Therefore, we should talk about this
So,
and this.
Basically,
So it should carry
this
on, it
person
should
has
flow
made
from
assumptions,
previous statements,
and
it should not
thinking
just
that
be
their
something,
logic has worked,
that you
but
just
in
copy and
fact,
pasted.
it's highly illogical. Okay. So this is
The next
the
thing
first
is about
example
word
of
order.
how not to write. Certainly, they did not
And
communicate because
this has a lot to do
they
with
did not go into
grammar
detail
and syntax.
about what is measurable, what is immeasurable,
How
about geometric
how a person
points,
reads a
all of a
sentence
sudden
through
in nature's symbol
is
like it has a
extremely
will.
important as well.
So very
You
vague,
need to stay away from
very
old
out
style
there.
structuring.
There
exist
exists many
animals that live without spines.
Unless this person
This
has
phrase,
like
there
50
exist many,
pages of
is much
explanations of this
more
flowing
ridiculous.
as there are many
Okay,
animals
so
that exist. This is kind of relating to business. It should not be a kind of reversal. This also comes up in academic writing.
It should
too.
be straight.
And I said we could just highlight everything here. The reader shouldn't have to strain.
So
reading
these
your
are
sentence at any point. Sentences
also
they use
don't
buzzwords,
take out
meaning like
articles,
things that are just kind of thrown
prepositions,
out there
just
as
for
kind
the
of a
sake they
general
wanna
word.
sound like a business
And they just, if you
type
smush them all together,
copy.
sometimes people think they
And
sound smart. They think they
a
sound
lot
like
of business
very
writers do this.
professorial
They
if
take out
they do so. But just look over these sentences and see if that
they
actually
think
makes sense.
makes them sound
Analysis
like
and validation of
business copy.
support strategies
Really,
for customer satisfaction
in
parameters.
realistic terms,
Okay,
you
this,
need to
this word
keep
parameters
those on,
has really
on
kicked me in the butt. I
other
mean, really, like,
prepositions,
parameters, like, what do you
so
mean
that your
by that?
writing flows.
Okay, maximize systems of
This is a
strategic
huge one,
environmental
even for,
processes.
people who have been
Wow, I
writing
mean,
for a long time.
environmental is
When you
already
check
vague,
if
but
each
environmental
sentence is
processes is like
the
super vague.
punctuation you use
Okay,
is correct.
parameters of team competency assessment
semicolon
support.
because semicolons
Whew,
are
I just feel like
used
dizzy just reading that.
incorrectly all the time.
Focus
It
on
has to be
ownership
between
of teamwork,
between
assessment, validation. So yeah, a lot of times people use a semicolon. Okay, that is just difficult to read and pretty annoying. Okay, empowering your
or even a
interactive
period,
competency team processing. Do
a
any of
comma.
you
So
know what that means? A semicolon is a very specific type of utilizing
punctuation
paradigms
which is
of support validation strategies of
This I
assessment.
kind of mentioned earlier, sentences and phrases.
I mean, that is like a prime example
meaning that
of
they should
someone
read it and
who
it
doesn't
should
know what to
sound
say,
pleasing to read.
but they
It
put a bunch of
shouldn't
words
sound like
together
it's
that's hard
hard
to make it sound
difficult to read, like you have to
trippy or something.
get through a puzzle.
And but or this can be an example of someone that does have
so you're on a
something to
mission
say,
to convey your
but
message. That's your main
they
message.
have
It's not mission
a
impossible.
lack of
It's mission
ability
possible,
in putting it in simple terms.
So,
In a way that,
like I said, you can have
actually
awesome
digest.
vocabulary, amazing ideas, but if you don't deliver the message in a clear
And
way.
now we're going to get on grammar, because grammar
it's extremely
is
important to have an
basic
outline to plan your writing,
of why
and you need to check
people
that
don't
periodically throughout the writing process.
And this is kind of a joke.
Writing is not
about grammar.
a
The
random
amount of grammar
automatic
spelled wrong
and
and
usage
usage
errors.
errors.
It may be for the beatniks in the past, and that was a style
Errors
writing,
today
but
is astounding.
usually
Not
99%
to
of the
mention
time,
spelling.
we need to have
Well, that's just an incomplete
a direct
sentence.
plan.
If I was a teacher,
I'd feel
I'd
badly
read
that less. So
okay, I would feel bad.
you need to have a clear statement about what your main
Principles,
topic is
this is
in an introduction. Different word usage of
And
principles.
you know, that could be a thesis
One, a different
statement
word here,
and
different
essay.
spelling, or that could be
Neither
a
the
solid
oldest,
statement of an
probably
assertion
eldest,
in an article and whatnot.
and
You have to
here
carry that
a student often thinks
following
like,
paragraphs. And
it's
don't
very
get sidetracked.
general. We don't know who the
if you
student
feel
is.
like
A student often thinks
veering off
they
into
can
a
depend.
different
They
space
is
or
plural,
territory,
so you would need
leave that for another
here.
paper. You just
And
be
there,
focused at all times.
this
in
is
each
the incorrect
paragraph sentence.
usage of they
So,
are.
So
In the
this contraction
conclusion,
doesn't work.
you have to
And
restate your
obviously
main
this
points.
is spelled wrong. In the majority of writing,
So,
it's usually every point
These
that you
are
made. 3 examples of
so
how not to
keep that in
communicate.
mind.
And
Use buzzwords.
this is extremely important.
Maybe you
to
can use
remind
them
readers
once
why
or
your main
twice
topic in a writing
is
piece.
important.
But if you put them together,
And
it's
you've
just going
noticed
to
I use the
sound
word
like mush.
important here because
And
it's important.
remember
So,
to be logical.
Logic
You have to
in
make the
writing
readers
is
realize
actually
why
super
your
important.
topic is
Because
actually
when
important.
you're writing about
If you don't
something,
make your readers realize that,
you
they're
are
just
giving
going
a
to
case
read
for
something
your main
else.
proposition.
So
And
stay
you need to act
personal
like a
in your
lawyer,
tone,
giving
meaning
logical, step by
don't
step.
sound like a textbook. Don't try to put your readers to sleep.
Proposals and
Write
evidence
like you're a real person.
and arguments
Your
that
own
will
voice.
make sure that the readers
Don't try
agree
to
what you're
sound
saying,
like someone else.
agree
Don't
to
try
what
to
you're
sound
saying,
like a
and to
textbook.
persuade.
Just write naturally.
Not all
as you
writing
would,
is persuasive, but
not as
when
a
you're writing
too casual. Of course, I
the
said not
reader
too
has
casual,
to
not
believe in what you're
as a
saying.
like
Has to
saying
feel
like yo
that it's
or
validated,
putting some other
and that it's
kind of
valuable.
contraction or something.
Okay.
But just keep it simple,
Right.
clear,
We look
and your own.
It looks like we have
Alright, and
staying on the
questions.
topic.
I kind of mentioned this before. I'll give a few
But
moments.
if you want
For people
side
to write
information,
questions,
then
if
just
they
use
have questions.
footnotes.
And these are great for
you
just,
enjoyed
if you're
the
really nerdy
small
and you
little
really
webinar.
want to put a bunch of footnotes,
It's just
that's okay. I mean,
going over
readers
presentation
might
and examples.
dig
You
that.
can
They
tell
might be really into your footnotes.
if we should
But
improve on
do not
something,
put
if we
footnote
should
information
do something in a
inside the
different
actual
way.
essay. Put it at the
Um,
bottom of the footnotes.
If you want more
And
jokes, if you
don't
want to be less
put any
serious,
random sentences
tell.
in your paragraphs.
so yeah, that's like
This is
huge. Been
with,
Nicholas Kozansky,
college
Academic
and
Help,
high school writers.
and it looks like
We
we
put
put questions.
a lot of random material
broadcast
inside
and
paragraphs that have nothing to do with the main topic, and it's just like there's no transition.